Hey YouTube, Brian LCS. Let's talk Spider-Man Clone Saga. In a recent interview, J.M. DeMatteis, the writer of arguably the best Spider-Man story of all time, Kraven's Last Hunt, stated that the original plan to end the Clone Saga was to have Peter Parker ride off into the sunset with MJ and live happily ever after and have Ben Riley become Spider-Man full time. Wait, what?
I would have ended it the way we originally planned to end it. The original plan was not to go on for 150 years, to do it in maybe 6 months to a year, because 6 months to a year weaving through all the Spider-Man books is a lot of story. The plan was Ben comes back. He thinks he's the clone. At a certain point in the story, Peter discovers he's the clone. Mary Jane is pregnant. They go off to Portland. They live there happily ever after. Ben becomes Spider-Man. We were going to relaunch all the books with number ones, introduce new supporting cast, new villains, and then we always had Peter out there, could always come back and get involved in adventures whenever we wanted him. And that was the original plan.
So Marvel wanted to put OG Spider-Man Peter Parker out the pasture? Mind blown. The Clone Saga is one of the most controversial and popular Spider-Man stories ever. Marvel Comics was determined to produce a strong Spider-Man event story that would rival DC's comics, The Death of Superman and Batman Nightfall, both of which sold extremely well. The Clone Saga storyline ran from 1994 to 1996. It was originally only supposed to last for less than a year, but the comics sold very well, and the writers were encouraged to prolong the saga as long as possible. The extension caused the story to get more convoluted as it went on. But before we review the Clone Saga from 1994 that almost saw the end of Peter Parker's run as Spider-Man, let's go back to the beginning and the first introduction of the clones. In 1973, writer Jerry Conway decided to kill off girlfriend of Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy, in The Amazing Spider-Man 121, because the editorial team felt that Gwen had become stale as a character and they wanted to instill an additional element of tragedy in Peter Parker's life. In follow-up arcs, Conway introduced a new villain called the Jackal and lets Gwen Stacy seemingly return from the dead. The Jackal was the villain identity of Gwen and Peter's biology professor, Miles Warren, who could not cope with the death of Gwen, with whom he had a secret infatuation. As an expert on cloning, he created clones of both Gwen and Peter, discovering Peter is Spider-Man as a result. The Jackal blames Spider-Man for Gwen's death and he wants to kill him. The Jackal kidnaps Spider-Man and forces him to fight his clone. Both men believe they are the real Peter Parker. The two Spider-Men soon decide to work together, but one is seemingly killed by the same bomb that kills the Jackal. The surviving Spider-Man determines that he is the original because he is in love with Mary Jane Watson, which did not happen until after Professor Warren created the clone. Spider-Man drops the body of the clone into an incinerator. Gwen Stacy's clone disappears to find a new life for itself. The Amazing Spider-Man number 149 is the climatic final of the original Clone Saga, and it leaves it ambiguous whether it's the original Spider-Man or his clone who perishes in the bomb explosion. Conway said that this result was unintentional. At this time, he took it as Marvel would never replace the Amazing Spider-Man with a clone. Fast forward to 1994. Spider-Man's clone reappeared from his original appearance in the 70s. He had survived the battle from Amazing Spider-Man number 149 and for 5 years had lived in existence under the name Ben Riley, a combination of Peter's Uncle Ben's first name and Aunt May's maiden name. And he developed a superhero identity of his own, the Scarlet Spider, after returning to New York City. A series of chaotic events followed in which Peter and Ben were plagued by both a resurrected Jackal and by Kane, who was the unsuccessful first clone of Spider-Man. Medical tests indicated Peter was actually the clone and Ben the original. Peter temporarily retired as Spider-Man, leaving the mantle of Spider-Man to Ben when he prepared for his new role as father after he discovered that Mary Jane was pregnant. Peter even lost his powers for a period of time during his retirement, although they eventually came back after a near-death experience. The Clone Saga ran through 4 Spider-Man titles from October 1994 to December 1996, in addition to a multitude of spin-offs, one-shots, and ancillary issues. Close to 200 books covered this storyline. The climax revealed that Peter, Ben, the Jackal, and many others had been manipulated for years by Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, who had returned from the dead and had been secretly masterminding the entire saga. Osborn said Peter was the original, having faked the evidence that revealed Peter's status as the clone as part of his plan to break Peter's spirit. A claim that was confirmed when Ben died, saving Peter's life, and his body degenerated like the other clones. But the original outline for the story had the saga to begin the new era of Spider Man. Peter and Mary Jane would be written out of the books and sent off to live in peace with their soon to be born child. Ben would get the chance to establish himself as the wall crawler and move forward as Spider Man with a new suit and a supporting cast. All Spider Man books would be retitled so that the Scarlet Spider's name would replace Spider Man's. Amazing Scarlet Spider, Spectacular Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider, and The Web of Scarlet Spider. With many writers and editors, the storyline was initiated throughout all the regular Spider-Man titles, but slowly grew out of control. The sales department at Marvel requested extensions to the storyline due to the very strong sales of the book at the time where most other comics were experiencing noticeable decline. With the extension, the storyline outlived several key creative staff members, and many decisions on the eventual direction of the storyline was changed to revert back to Peter Parker being Spidey. Thank you. I could not imagine Peter Parker being shelved and Ben Reilly becoming Spider-Man going forward. Could you imagine Tobey Maguire playing Ben Reilly instead of Peter Parker? Years later, would Miles Morales get introduced and be mentored by Ben Reilly? I guess good sales will make you do just about anything. So what do you think? Could Marvel replace Peter Parker? Put him on the shelf and not have him in any of the Spider-Man titles? Crazy talk in my mind. But let me know. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.